Good afternoon, participants. This is your host Satyajit Sen from Economic Times, welcoming you all to this today's live webinar on maximizing enterprise productivity by leveraging artificial intelligence. So far, a lot has been talked about how artificial intelligence is taking the world by storm, and everyone has started projecting how AI technologies are going to change the future of various industries and businesses. From enhancing customer service to improving employee/workplace productivity to increasing automation of labor-intensive tasks, AI is predicted to revolutionize the enterprises. However, very little has been, spoken about how enterprises can use these next generation technologies. There is a major confusion amongst the executive circle on how they can take the first step towards their AI journey. So here we come with the webinar today, where we will get to learn the key challenges of implementing AI solutions for your business, how IBM Watson solution can help solve these challenges and how to get started, and a use case of how Expert Assist has helped the client transform and improve productivity. And to throw light on this and help us understand it better, we have with us Mr. Kiran Chulapalli, IBM Watson Technical Sales Leader and Client Solution Architect. He is responsible for working with clients of various industries to help them understand and identify use cases and build solutions using IBM Watson AI platform services. He has over 18 years of experience in the areas of software development, IT strategy, architecture, analytics, databases, SOA, and cognitive computing. So here's welcoming Kiran today. And before handing it over to Kiran, I would like to inform you all that there will be three poll questions during his talk. So request you all to participate in that. And after Kiran's talk and presentation is over, we will open the floor for a Q&A round. However, please feel free to post your questions anytime during the webinar. So here is handing it over to Kiran. We are all ears.
Thank you very much, Satyajit. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to this session. I'm very happy to be presenting and talking to you about some of the Watson capabilities. As Satyajit mentioned, my name is Kiran Challapalli. I've been in this role specifically for the last 3.5 years, working with a number of clients both in and outside India, more focused towards the Indian clients. As Satyajit mentioned, we wanted to make it a little bit more interactive, so we put in some questions in there. And don't worry, nothing, to test your knowledge, but more for our information and to keep it interactive, right? So why don't I kick it off, right? I'll kick it off with the first question, actually. So why don't we post the first question? I think it should come out as part of the tool, right? There you go. So feel free, one or more answers. All right, perfect.
So, sorry to Virgin, we have got the answers. I'll just, want to give out the answers right away. Yeah. So we have 79% people voting in favor of the answer number A, which is a machine that thinks like humans. 29% people voted for option B, which is the question answering chatbot. And 55% of people voted for C, which is a system that will help my experts do their jobs. So yeah, so let's start, Kiran. Over to you.
Yeah, perfect. So and there's no right answer to that per se. So I'm not going to. It's not like we're going to grade or anything. So the whole idea is okay. So just wanted to. So recently we did a survey in India, specific to India, right? There's a lot of surveys that you can see at a world level, but recently we did a survey within India as to how and what AI is being looked at, at a CXO level, VP of IT, VP of various business verticals, right? So we are seeing a lot of traction. Obviously, so when I started off 3 years ago, 3.5 years ago, the amount of activity in terms of what is being done with AI was minimal, to say the least, right? And right now it is picking it up on some of the key areas. It's still customer satisfaction, but a lot of back end processes, a lot of marketing and sales outreach, right? A lot of these are also picking up, as you can see from here. So just wanted to put this. This is a very recent survey that came out, it's fresh off the press, right? So you get a latest update as to what kind of trends that we are seeing out there. So now I'll jump into the question, which I mean, for this forum, maybe I'm preaching to the choir, but thought it would be pertinent to have that in there as to one of the questions that a lot of clients, very less so these days, but at least used to ask us before was, why do I need AI or cognitive, right? And the very simplest way of looking at this is data, right? So data is growing at an exponential rate, and the scale and the volumes of the data, the speed at which the data is coming, and the kinds of data that you see, the whole big data problem, right? It is not possible for a human being or multiple human beings to be able to handle all of it and glean insights out of it, right? So the idea here is that you need a system that can process the data, the amount of data that we are getting. We have the possibility of a human being able to go through all of it, being able to extract out the vital information, be it external, internal, structured, unstructured. It's not feasible anymore, right? The scale is pretty much so high that you would need to be able to spend a lot of time, and that means a lot of time lost in terms of responding to the market, right? So that's where AI comes in, because AI will kind of act as an assistant to the human being, the expert. So the idea here is not to replace the expert. The idea here is to be to increase the capability of the expert by focusing on these mundane tasks of reading and extracting information, and then letting the expert make the best decision possible. So again, quickly, I know it's a bit early, you might say, but I promise you there's only one more question. So here is the second poll question for you guys. So just wanted to see where you are in terms of the AI, right? Yeah, first question was more about what AI is from your perspective, and now it's more along the lines of where you are in the journey. So this will help us to kind of gauge, what kind of an audience we have today. All right. So
Yeah. So we have got the responses. So we have 33% of people answering for option A, which is already started or implemented pilot phases. 15% people are about to start. 40% people are also want to start, and 12% have not started as yet. So I think it
okay,
gives us
so
a good idea of
perfect,
the audience diversity. Yeah.
perfect.
So
So
over to you,
more
Kevin.
than, yeah, almost 90% of you are ready to start, right? So that's perfect. So before we jump into the core part, the meat part of it, I also wanted to quickly highlight, while some of you might already have an idea, I just wanted to put in what we at IBM and a lot of people in the industry also look at: what is AI or what is cognitive, right? So we look at it as a system that can understand it at a human level rather than machines. Have always, I mean, we've had machines and computers. When I say machines, I'm not talking the non-computers. I'm talking about computers for over 5, 6 decades that could process numbers, that can do a lot of stuff these days, right? But when we say cognitive or AI systems, we actually say systems that can actually understand the human way of interaction. So it's not numbers, it's not XML, it's not HTML, right? It's not a tabular data. It's actually a human way of conversation, which is an email, which is voice, which is an image, and so on, right? And be able to understand what they're saying, reason based upon its learning, just like a human being. We reason based upon our experiences, right? What our learnings are. Similarly, a system that can reason based on that and also learn from every interaction, again like a human being, right? Being able to, as it is being used, as it is being interacted with, it learns from that and it gets better from that, right? And then the last part, which is the key part, which I mean I kind of already talked about it, which is the interaction phase, being able to not only understand, reason, and learn from it, but also being able to respond back in a human way. So the idea here is that a human being, can actually talk to or interact or communicate with a system, and it is able to respond back with the answers or maybe some follow-up questions, right? So that system would be what we call as an AI or cognitive system. And also, this is something very critical. We need to be very careful in how we and what to expect from these AI systems, right? And there's a lot of these days, again, there's not much of a disconnect, but in the early days when I was, this is one slide where we would get stuck at quite a bit, because the human beings, is this a replica of a human being, right? It's not. It's actually certain skills that it cannot replicate, certain skills that a human being is not good at, it can do very well. For example, human beings, we excel at common sense, we excel in, we have morality, right? We have imagination, we have compassion, and so on and so forth. We don't really expect a machine system to be taking over that aspect of it, at least not yet, right? A cognitive system or an AI system currently, it's focusing more along the lines of locating knowledge. This is the mass. You have, thousands and maybe millions of documents. You need to find the right response. Being able to use natural language, being able to identify patterns, being able to learn using machine learning or deep learning, right? These are some of the, and then of course, another important factor, a lot of enterprises say this is important, is that eliminating bias. Every human being is biased, right? And that's what makes us who we are. And in system, sometimes, especially in a contact center, or imagine a human being who is in a shift 8 hours, is being yelled at. Nobody calls the call center to say, "Oh, what a wonderful service," right? Everybody calls to say there's some problem or not. So imagine at 7 hours 55 minutes, and he receives a call. Do you really expect that human being, that person, to be at the same level of mental capacity or bias when he or she started off at the beginning of his shift, right? So there will be a difference. There will be a lot of things that affect emotion and so on, right? So that's one thing that a lot of clients and enterprises have highlighted to us, saying that this is one reason why a machine is that there's no bias. Even though the client is angry or yelling at, it's still, system can stay calm, focus on what is the question, that is the underlying question, and then provide a response back. So just to give you, again, there's a lot of technologies that are going out there, and this is not just the AI, but there's robotics that's being talked about, the machine learning, deep learning, natural language processing. Predictive analytics is something that is pretty big in India, and even worldwide, but at a much higher scale. We are seeing that more importance being given to that. And recommendation engines, right? So being able to provide unbiased but very personalized and data-centric recommendations, right? So these are the different kinds of technologies that cognitive or AI systems are being used for. So I thought I'll put it out there, something that makes sense for you guys. Just from an industry, this is not just India, this is worldwide level. What Forrester is saying, that AI will kind of disrupt your customer service and sales strategy, and even back-end office these days. But Forrester came with that report, right? Gartner says 85% of CIOs will be piloting AI programs by 2020. And I feel strongly that these numbers will be, will be beaten and will need to be changed to maybe 85 will go up to 90 or even more, because of the amount of traction that is happening and the value add that we are seeing, right, from AI. One key factor is that, knowledge workers, one of the main problems that a lot of customers, a lot of enterprises tell us is that 80 to 90% of these subject matter experts, knowledge workers, spend a lot of 80 to 90% of their time looking for information, right, instead of focusing on, okay, data should be there, data should be available at a click. Rather, unfortunately, currently they are having to look around, spend a lot of time, talk to other people, other experts, see if there's data that is being hidden somewhere else. That itself takes a lot of time before they can sit down and make a decision based upon it, right? So the innovation part or the decision making process, they have very little time, whereas 80 to 90% of their time they're focusing on searching for information. One last slide from in India, the recent survey that we did. Cognitive in India is set to expand. There's a lot of lot of angles in which this is being growing, right? There's 52% growth in share of digitalization, 8 times the growth in big data analytics, right? 60% rise in demand for AI and machine learning skills. Obviously, that means a lot of work is going in, right? That's a key indicator of the amount of AI and innovation around AI happening around us, right? And the number of startups as well, right? There are over 300 startups and growing, which are coming out with various solutions and capabilities using AI. But still, you see, one of the things that we talk about, especially from an enterprise perspective, a lot of the AI, it's an easy solution when you're trying to solve a more of a large end customer kind of a problems, right? But when you're looking at an enterprise level, problems, one of the key things that we notice is that they are still struggling. A lot of enterprises are still struggling, and these are the four main reasons which, based upon our interactions with a lot of the enterprises, what we are seeing. Data is still hidden in various, it could be external data, it could be internal data, it could be even data that the customer service department wants to have certain data, but that they don't even know that this data is already available with the, let's say, the marketing team, right? Maybe they want to do an analysis of what customers are thinking about the customer service quality, right? That data could be hidden somewhere in the marketing departments or the sales departments data, right? And also data is all types of data. You have unstructured and structured, you have internal and external, and then you don't really know how to handle all of that. Then the second part of it, which is kind of aligns with what I was talking about from a data silo perspective, is governance, right? Being able to control this data. The sharing of the data doesn't happen. It stays in silos. One of the reason being that the fear of the violation of governance policies, right? So they don't know, oh, if these are all offline, word of mouth kind of, oh, don't use it here, don't use it for that. Rather, what if you had a system that can control that governance for you is what is missing, is what we are told, right? And then the third aspect is skills, right? Some of these, lot of new innovation has come out, right? You hear about deep learning, you hear about Keras, you hear about all these technologies that are coming out there, TensorFlow and so on, right? But one of the key things is that these are still core technologies which require a lot of skill set, right? PyTorch, if you're talking about Python, you need to have those skill sets. Without those skill sets, it is difficult. And the other problem, which is funnily, I was talking to an enterprise in Bangalore, and they were telling me, "Oh, I have hired two brilliant, data scientists. One is a R, expert in R, another is expert in Python, and it's a struggle to have these two people to work together." Right. So one thing is finding the right skill, and the second thing is finding the skills that all align to one kind of skill set, right? And the fourth aspect is tools and infrastructure. Being able to, especially with the deep learning capabilities, you have to now you're not only talking about the normal CPUs, you need GPUs, right? So how are you able to quickly get access to this hardware without having to, spend a lot of money, wait a lot of time to requisition and provision these kind of hardwares? So these are the four key areas that has come out as problems for the enhancement in the use of AI. Right. So Watson, the goal is, our Watson AI and data platform. The goal is to solve this problem, right? So as you can see here, I've highlighted the ignore that the part at the top right now, but the whole Watson platform, this we call it as the Watson platform, right? The whole platform runs on the cloud, right? And in the way it works is that because it is in the cloud, and cloud can be private or public or dedicated, right? The cloud makes it easier in terms of finding the right hardware, expanding it into multiple, locations where you don't need these people to be installing, specific software. When you set it up, everything is ready for you to go, right? And you can start working on it. I'm not going to go into detail about all of the platform, but what we are seeing here is at the bottom layer, what it says here is Watson Knowledge Catalog is the capability for you to find, discover, and maintain your governance policies of all your data, right? And then on top of that, you have the tooling, which is the Watson Studio, right? Which is the development tool for you to build your AI applications. That is your IDE for AI. And it is the beauty of this tool is that you don't need any one specific skill. You don't even need AI skills. You can start building applications in deep learning, for example, as long as you know how to use a browser, a click drag kind of a thing, right? Of course, you probably need some basic skill set of understanding, what is accuracy versus what is precision and so on for you to be able to best build the models. But you don't need a lot of coding, core level coding skills to be able to build something. And on top of that, we have built a number of applications, right? And today, what I'm going to talk about is one of the business solutions is voice of the customer. But we do have a number of such capabilities and solutions other than voice of the customer. I mean, expert assist, right? Uh, yeah, so IBM is the leading AI platform. Recently, as you know, AI is still a very, not consolidated. Let me put it that way, not consolidated industry, right? It's very disparate. There are thousands and thousands of people or entities that consider themselves as AI vendors, right? And so in such a space, IBM controls about 10% of the market share. And so that itself shows that nobody is even close in terms of the share that we have, and it is growing, in multiple digits, right, in terms of year-to-year growth. So what is our differentiation is one of the things that a lot of enterprises, and we are an enterprise-driven AI platform, right? So as I said, Watson is an AI platform for enterprises. And it's not really, we are not focusing on in a B2C kind of an environment. We are a complete B2B platform. So one of the three promises that I call these as promises, but they can be looked at as advantages or differentiators, is that we protect, when I say we, IBM Watson protects the data and insights. So something that you use to, some technology, some solution that you build specific to your enterprise will not be used to train the core underlying algorithm, which can be then used by your competitor. Your data is also safe, right? It's in the most secure. There are different levels of security, but you can choose what security levels that you have. But all of the data is pretty safe, right? No one else other than your own entities, your own users can see or access the data. The other second aspect is that enterprises, while there is a lot of data, it's not so much like the web, where you can find petabytes of data by just searching for it, right? A lot of enterprises don't want to depend on that. They want to be dependent on their internal data. So there's much less data, And to be able to build models using that data, it's not as easy. So, but Watson learns more from that less data. So, and we have been proven to be the best in that space. The third aspect is we don't say, rebuild everything, break down everything, right? Use your existing, you can seamlessly integrate the Watson platform into your existing business and your workflows that you have, right? So you don't have to modify anything there. So we are a very go-to-market focused. So the four capabilities that we have, for now, as of now, come out with are voice of the customer, customer care, compliance assist, and expert assist. Today, I'm going to talk about expert assist, basically showing you how AI can help your experts, whatever domain, whatever industry, whatever that is, customer service, sales, back-end operations, right? Whatever that could be, how this will help them do their job much better and provided the right insights at the time of contextually finding at the time of inquiry, right? Making it easier for them to get to information, provide a response much faster and with more accuracy. So that's what we are going to focus on today. So one of the other problem is that how to get started, right? So the reason we came out with this business solution, which is actually a 4-week process, right? It's as simple as that. AI, we are not talking about going for 6 months, 1 year projects. No, we are talking about giving you an end-to-end within 4 weeks. And depending upon, sometimes some clients ask for a little bit more time, maybe 6 weeks. We will give you an end-to-end, a small pilot that will help you quickly see the value. This is the whole concept here is the fail fast approach, right? To try something, see value in it, and then build on top of it, scale it up, right? So if you have our tooling on the left hand side, you have your applications that you want on the right hand side. How do you get there? And the way we do it is, we have pre-built architectures. We have our experts who are used to building similar applications in the last, 3+ years, 4+ years, and their extensive knowledge and experience, worldwide knowledge, is being brought in, as well as, we have an existing architecture and capability and UI that we can just plug it in there, add in your data and also your expertise. As you can see, AI, it's not just only an IT project, it's a business project. It's where your insights, your experts' insights are very important for you to build the right technology, the right capability of AI, right? So taking these two, adding it to our tooling, you get your business solution as output, and this will be delivered in 4 weeks, right? It's as simple as that. So yeah, so just to highlight again some of the struggles to find relevant answers. It takes time to train the new employees. There's a lot of cost involved, right? So these are the problems that more effectively handled and solved by the expert assist capability. And expert assist, it's easy to use. Once the solution is built, the end user would be your expert, and they can interact to it as though they are interacting to another expert, right? Or actually, I would call it as their own personal assistant here, right? A virtual assistant to the expert, where they can say, okay, I don't want to look at all the data. I don't want to look at data for all of the world. I want specific to these regions, for these particular warehouses, for these particular set of customers. Tell me, what kind of information that we have, right? And then it automatically consolidates, aggregates, and provides the right information for you. And we also have, so it's natural language. You are, talking to it, communicating to it. You don't need to learn any special query languages. You can just talk to it in English, right? It quickly retrieves the passages and documents. So your data could be hidden all over the place. It could be in your knowledge bases. It could be in external data sources as well. And as long as you point to it, you tell Watson where these data sources are. It fetches them, it learns from them, and you can ask it the right question and it can respond back with specific sections. It also doesn't just return the whole document, right? What's the point of returning a 50-page document, that somebody can themselves find it, right? They don't need a system for that. It goes and actually within that 50 pages, it finds the relevant section, and within that, the relevant sentence or paragraph, what we call as a passage, and provides a response for you. So what is the value add here? The employees' satisfaction and efficiencies increase. Now they're focusing less on finding information and more on, okay, now I have the information. How do I best use it to formulate a response to the client, right? Be it sales, be it customer service, whatever, right? Focus on higher value activities rather than this is the lower value activity, right? Going searching for information, putting it together, aggregating it, right? And then these two, what the key factor that it adds to is that now your customer is happy because your expert is able to provide more relevant, much more confidently provide information because it is, the system is able to provide with evidence, right? It just doesn't say here is what it is, but it also provides the evidence of why it thinks so. And so it makes it easier, and the expert is much more confident in providing a quick and more accurate answer. And that obviously increases the level of customer satisfaction. So again, to highlight what I've been saying, this is a very easy to use, natural language based interface where you can pose questions. The answers don't just come back in text; they come out in multimodal form. It could be a video, it could be an image, it could be a dashboard, it could be a text as well, right? And it's guided discovery. I mean, the system can communicate back and forth. You can step through it and find the right response to it. It's almost like a conversation, a chat that you're having with somebody, right? And then it finds the relevant information based upon putting all that information that it has gathered from the expert and finds the right information. And it is also domain trainable, right? So as in, for example, certain types of phrases, orange in a regular sense might be a color or a fruit, but maybe orange is a name of a plan for a telco, right? So if somebody says I want to know about orange, obviously the system should not be generic. It shouldn't be thinking, oh, maybe he wants to know about a fruit, right? Rather, it is domain specific. It is specific to your enterprise. It should be able to understand that when he says orange, he's talking about a specific plan, and be able to consistently provide specific responses, right? So that part, again, you can easily train it, and that is called as domain adaptation. And you can train it, and your experts can train it along with the IBM experts support in very easy to use manner, right? This is called as human annotation, where you annotate the steps, a few of these, and then it learns from that and builds a machine learning model, and it gets better using that. So here is for those of you who are from the IT background and might be thinking, okay, now I want to see how the overall architecture looks. I know this is still not deep down, but just thought I'll give you a high-level overview of the architecture. So you have your end user on the administrator using the web-based interface, for example, and then you have the system which could be probably running in the cloud, and through the interface, once let's say they are authenticated, the system goes through and uses a couple of Watson services. As you can see here, one is called as a Watson Assistant. So we have a bunch of services that are there. And Watson Assistant is the one that interacts. Watson Discovery is the one that can go fetch the right information. And Watson Knowledge Studio, these are the three services used here. Knowledge Studio is the one that you impart the domain adaptation to your solution, right? And obviously, if you want to store data, store logs and information, you have a solution database as well. So overall, that is the architecture that you have. So I'll pause there, and we'll go ahead with the third question at this point. So can we pose the third question, please?
All right, so we have the answers here. We have 49% people voting for option A, which is get IBM AI platform and build the AI solutions myself. 40% of people voted for B, which is get IBM AI platform and build the AI solution myself with IBM help. And 11% went for I would like IBM to build my AI solution end to end. So over to
Perfect.
you, Kiran.
Yeah, thank you. And that's pretty much what we expect, for typically, and what we are seeing typically in Indian enterprises, right? A lot of them have the capability and the skill sets to be able to do it themselves. More than almost 50% of you said the same, and even the other 40%, another 40% said that maybe with a little bit of IBM help, and which is like 90% of you guys, and which is what we are seeing, and the traditional way of doing it. In India, at least, has been that way. So seems like so that is consistent with what I understand. Um, so I'll so with this expert assist solution is actually the third aspect of it, right? So wherein we come in, we as an IBM comes in and builds all of this using the Watson APIs and tools. We build this end to end for you, right? So the beauty of this thing is it's a quick 4 week delivery service, and we build something, and it's ready to go within 4 weeks, and you can start testing it, and once you're satisfied with it, you can scale it up. Having said that, we do have a number of customers who actually say, just give us the platform, we'll play with it ourselves and build it ourselves. And but what we have seen is that the the speed at which this system, the solutions come out is a little bit slower, because it takes time for people to get adjusted to from the typical IT way of delivery model to an AI and cognitive way of delivery model, and which is where I think wherever, and we have seen that with evidence, right, where a lot of the times where IBM is involved, even if on a as a consultative basis, where we have some experts sitting working along with you, we have seen that work very well. And the fastest approach we have seen is where when we work and then your guys are shadowing, and then they pick it up from there. Once the 4 week delivery is done, your team then takes over and starts building on top of it. That seems to be the fastest way to ramping up in that sense, right? Um, so yeah, just to talk about, I have a couple case studies. We have a North American financial services, organization that actually used this expert assist capability, and they wanted their contact center and field agents to be able to quickly resolve their clients' issues without any bias, without any inaccuracies or repeat calls, right? So this solution was built for them, and they were able to, this was available both internally for their call center, but also people who were going out and visiting clients for their field sales agents, right? This reduced their average call time, the repeat calls, and quite a bit, and so that we have seen a lot of positives there. And another closer to home we have is, it's not really the expert service model, but it's very close to that. Is in Woodside, we have used, they have used, Watson to train Watson in their domain, and then the end customer, the end user, which is their experts who are trying to operate these, expensive machines, oil drilling machines, offshore oil drilling machines, are able to resolve their problems and share their experiences. Because when an expert trains the system, it's not just one expert, they have like hundreds of experts that train these systems, and the system keeps on learning with the usage. So that makes it, because they have people all over Australia, and somebody in Northeast Australia with their insight and knowledge is being able to help somebody in Southwest Australia, who could then quickly use that information through because Watson was trained with that and learns from that, and then they are able to find the relevant answers. Uh, So yeah, so end of the day, the key value adds of this expert assist, capabilities to, to improve your employees' efficiency, consistency, increase the customer satisfaction, even glean new insights, right? Maybe there's certain things that you haven't figured it out already because a lot of it is hidden in this dark data or unstructured data, but now that is surfaced out, and you can then plug it into your current maybe predictive models as well, right? You can improve the speed and accuracy of response, right, and go to market, and then the whole solution comes out at a pilot level in 4 weeks, so you can see the business value in real quick time. So that's pretty much it. So just a give you a taste of what this solution is. I know I covered quite a bit of it. We talked about AI, we talked about Watson, and then we talked about one specific business solution that we have, which is Expert Assist. So I hope this has been valuable for you guys. We'll kind of open it up for questions. If there are any questions in chat, maybe the moderator can read them out and I can try to answer. But otherwise, just wanted to highlight in here, I put in my email ID and I'm also pretty active in LinkedIn, Twitter, and I also have a YouTube channel where I put in a lot of videos of whatever I think is useful from a Watson platform perspective. So I'll pause there now and see if you have any questions.
Thank you, Kiran. I think it was really very insightful. So we have a lot of questions coming in, and we are opening it up. So the first question that has come in is from Kirtika Biani, and she asks, which is the most intelligent AI solution that the healthcare industry can make use of in today's scenario?
So it depends upon what is it that you're doing, right? So for example, you must have heard about Watson for oncology. That is our number one from a Watson perspective, and the most successful and deep capability technology, right? So this is the one that actually helps experts, like the best oncologists out there have trained it, and experts, these oncologists who are not as experienced, can leverage this as their second opinion in terms of finding the right treatment methodology and so on, right? And this is actually being used in India as well. So for example, Manipal and Apollo, both of them are using Watson for oncology. But if you have anything specific, you can reach out to me and we can have a more focused discussion on that.
Thank you, Kiran, and thanks, Kritika, for the question. Moving on, Ravi Kumar BN asks, what is the success rate in implementing AI with different business domains?
Hello?
Yeah, Kiran, did you get that question?
No. I lost your voice for a bit there. I'm sorry. Can you repeat that?
Yes, sure. So we have Ravi Kumar BN who is asking, what is the success rate in implementing AI with different business domains?
Yeah, so it's been an interesting journey, right? So it started off with a lot of narrow focus on what we do. We focused on contact centers. We focused on question and answers, and even there, one of the things that we realized is that it's the technology itself is very good, and it has less to do with the technology and more to do with the training that it has been given. Very interestingly, it's like a student, right? Imagine, I'm sure you must have heard about it, where a student is as good as the teacher that he or she has, right? So in that sense, what we have seen is that, and we have learned, and that's what, where we have become better and better at, is being able to provide the right training quickly for Watson, and how the training needs to be provided is the factor that matters in terms of how well the accuracy does. And if you're into AI, machine learning or deep learning, forget Watson. If you're generally talking about AI, anybody and everybody will tell you, end of the day, it's all about the data, right? Your training data needs to be as representative and as close to as possible to the real data. But if you're talking more from an accuracy perspective, end of the day, this is machine learning and deep learning, right? So that's what we are using as well. we are the best out there, but still this is something that is learning based upon the information and the training that it was provided. So the accuracy varies. It is getting better and better. We are seeing, accuracies in the 90%. I've seen some situations where the training data might not be as robust, and there we see 70%, 80%. So it all depends. But the key thing is that you have to look at it like a human being. It's like a new hire, right? You don't expect a new hire to start, taking over things from day zero or day one, right? So that's the way you got to look at the system, the Watson system as well.
Thanks, Kiran. Moving on to the next question, we have Nidhi Lohat asking, how feasible is building an in-house Indian language translator for government or grassroots services, given there are services like Google Translate already available? And her second question is,
Yeah.
there's a second part of the question, which is, what are the advantages apart from the obvious financial ones?
Okay, let me try and answer the first question. Yeah, I think you're talking about how can you build your own in-house, your own open source based technologies. Then, yeah, being able to replicate this, and I don't want to say you don't have the skill set. I'm sure you do. It all depends, right? So it all depends upon how you want to build it. Currently, the way we are looking at it, uh, the because of the requirement for deep AI, the deep learning capabilities, running this on-prem on a CPU kind of a system doesn't scale, right? I mean, doesn't work, right? So what we are seeing is that the alternative, which is where IBM is starting to look at, is providing a private cloud, and what we call as IBM Cloud Private, right? Wherein having these AI, deep learning, machine learning capabilities on-prem, because while we feel that cloud is the way, the public cloud is the way, and I'm sure in the longer term everybody will start moving towards that. But there is an interim period where there's still a lot of unknowns about public cloud. So we are coming out with this hybrid cloud approach, wherein you can have a lot of these capabilities done in-house using IBM Cloud Private. But specific to your question about language and all, let's take it offline. I think it depends. Rather than give a generic answer, it might be better to focus on that in terms of what you're looking for and why, right? So if it is purely for data sensitivity kind of purposes, then there are ways that you can, and we have done that a number of times, because Watson is being used by a number of financial services in India, which where you would think that a financial service would always say, I want everything in-house. But after we explained how the data will, be secure, and how, we prevent any personal data to be going outside their premises, they have gone ahead and implemented it. So we can definitely take a look at that, but probably something that we can take offline.
Sure. Thank you, Kiran. Moving on to the next question, we have Prem asking us, can you throw some light on your technology use in oil and gas construction industry, like EPC services and all?
Yeah, so thank you for that question. Yeah, so I gave you an example, right? Woodside is one of our major customers. We also have an Indian customer that has started working on using it, right? So there's a lot of value add, especially the expert assist part of it, because there's a lot of things that these experts have to deal with, and it could be drilling, it could be finding certain relevant information to solve a problem, some emergency, some breakdowns, right? So the downtime is something that is not acceptable, right? So a lot of these things as very important, and we have seen, as I said, Woodside, we have already done it. We have from a lot of other worldwide customers also looking at it. I don't know, I don't think I can name them. I know at least two of them that are almost in production or already in production. And in India as well, we have at least two customers that we are interacting with. So Expert assist seems to be the most popular one, where your expert, be it engineers, be it the drill site technicians, who use these systems to find the relevant information to solve a problem. Sometimes, these systems shut down or have issues or have some, small issues that, typically need an expert to give it could be a quick answer, but the technician gets stopped and then they need to either call the engineer at 3 a.m. in the morning or wait for the next day, right? So that's where these systems have really helped, lessen the downtime, and increase the skill set of the confidence of the technicians, because they can just say, I'm doing this step, I'm taking this step based upon the information with evidence provided, maybe in a document, maybe in an expert blog, or an internal document, or an external publication, which will be provided as evidence to the engineer or the technician to move ahead.
Thank you, Kiran. Thanks for your answer. Moving on to the next question, we have Seema asking us, are there pre-built solutions provided as a part of the platform which can be customized easily to suit a specific domain?
Absolutely. And the expert service is one of those solutions, right? So these are all pre-built, ready to go. You can just plug and play. Well, I wouldn't say plug and play, because every industry is different. What I mean by plug and play is not the traditional 6 month, 1 year kind of a development cycle, but more along the lines of, you have something end to end built in a matter of 4 weeks, right? So these are ready to go. So we have in different domains, I mean, different capabilities. Expert Assist, the one that we are talking about today, is one of them. Uh, uh, you know, there are three other capabilities that we have, which are all ready to go and pre-built, and there are more coming along those lines.
Great, thanks for your input, Kiran. So we have time for the last two questions. So moving on, we have Mr. Mohan Kumar asking, where does the data sit, like at the client side or on the Watson Cloud side?
Yeah, excellent question, and I think I kind of hit at it earlier. Uh, it all We can tune the architecture in the way that we want. Typically, in an expert assist scenario, what we have seen is that clients are not as worried about where the data sits. So in that scenario, the data sits in the cloud, but we have, as I said, there is something called as ICP for data, IBM Cloud Private for data, where we are looking at, putting it on prem as well. But this particular solution, yes, you will be having the data in the cloud, but because it's not sensitive data, it doesn't matter. But if you say, there is some sensitivity there are ways around it, and we have built architectures in such a way that none of the sensitive data leaves the on-premise, the data center of the client, and only the see, end of the day, what is Watson? Watson is the kind of, I look at it as the overall in the solution architecture. It is the brain, right? It is trying to understand what the user is asking, be it an expert, being an end user. What is it that they're trying to ask, and then it is understanding that question, and then it can go and tell an internal system to fetch the answer. That way you can keep the answer on premise while still using the intelligence of the Watson in the cloud.
Sure. Thanks, Kiran. And moving on to the last question, we have Mr. Piyush Garg asking us, how is your platform better than that of Microsoft or Facebook? I mean, he means the likes of Azure or so.
Yeah, so the one of the key things, and which is something that I already hit at in one of the slides earlier, what differentiates us is that we are enterprise focused. A lot of them are, end customer, B2C kind of a focused. So there, so for example, if you upload any, domain specific, your enterprise specific intelligence into the system and train the system, we will not take that intelligence. That is your IP, your data, your intelligence is your IP, right? But if you look at our competitors, that's not so. So your IP will be used to train the underlying core engine, the AI engine, which can then be used by your competitor, right? Then I think is the key differentiation. And also the second aspect is the amount of data, right? A lot of these deep learning systems work well, but you would have to throw a lot of data at it, right? And as I said earlier, there's very few enterprises who have petabytes of data, relevant data specific to that particular, vertical, right? That you're trying to build a solution for. So there the differentiation is that our system can work with less data and still be able to provide one of the highest accuracies, right? So, and if you look at in terms of a number of independent surveys have been done. For example, in a year ago, one of the a third party entity, and I'm blanking now as the name of that entity, did a comparison of all of the the competition, what you mentioned already, and looking at purely at our natural language capability. And what it found out is that we were the best in terms of being able to glean insights out of very little data, right? So a lot of these did comparatively well, came up to decently close to what Watson can do, but a tremendous amount of data that would needed to be put into trained into the system, right? So it's a lot of money, a lot of time, effort, and as well as a huge amount of data that you would have to gather. So the waiting period also increases because of that. So Watson differentiates based on those two. Those two I think are the key things that differentiates us from our competition.
Thank you, Kiran. I think with this, we come to an end of today's webinar. I would again like to thank Mr. Kiran Chilapalli for sharing his knowledge and experience with us. I would like to thank the participants here for joining with us today. And we really hope that today's learnings will help every one of us embark on their AI journeys for their own enterprises. So here is again for the last time thanking you all. Until we meet again, keep reading ETCIO. Thank you.
Thank you very much.